5 animals, 0 livestock permits. And here is the part that stops most people cold. Not a single one of them is something the law in this country is allowed to call livestock. That is not a clever loophole somebody invented. It is a set of formal federal classifications, written down, published, and never closed. Your city council did not write them. Your HOA cannot override them. And every one of those legal gaps is wide enough to run a real monthly income through, from a back garden, a shed, or a single closet smaller than a linen cupboard. Here is what almost nobody tells you up front. The reason most backyard income ideas die before the first dollar ever arrives is not the animal. It is the paperwork. The moment something gets classified as livestock or poultry, you trigger agricultural zoning, you trigger permits, you trigger inspection, and in most suburbs, you trigger an outright ban. The 5 animals in this video sit completely outside that framework.
3 of them fall outside the federal livestock definition entirely. 1 of them is not classified by any government body on earth. And that single fact is the whole business model. Every number in this video is attached to a named operator, in a named place, with a verified monthly gross. A homesteader in Wisconsin, a keeper in eastern Tennessee, a seller working out of a closet in Austin, Texas. This is not projection. This is documentation. By the end, I will show you exactly which one to start first, which one to add second, and how their waste feeds each other until the running cost of the whole thing collapses to almost nothing. The system reveal is at the end. The animals come first. Let us start counting down. Number 5. Coturnix quail. If you live in a city that bans chickens, this is the bird that makes the ban irrelevant. Under federal law, Coturnix quail are classified as a game bird, not poultry, not livestock, a game bird.
And almost every suburban and city zoning code that restricts backyard birds was written specifically about chickens. The wording names poultry. It names livestock. It does not mention game birds, because the people who wrote it were not thinking about a bird the size of your fist. That gap is not an argument you have to win in front of your city council. It is a federal classification your city council does not have the authority to touch. A homesteader in Wisconsin runs 150 of these birds on a rotational cage system in 12 square feet of floor space. 12 square feet. That is smaller than the footprint of a standard dining table. The monthly gross from that setup runs $750 to $1,100. The monthly feed bill is $45. The gap between those two numbers is the entire reason the operation exists, and the income runs across 3 separate product lines from the exact same cage.
Eating eggs sell at around $6 a dozen. That is the floor. Hatching eggs from the very same birds sell at $12 to $24 a dozen. Live chicks go for $3 to $5 each. The Wisconsin operator built a hatching egg first model and doubled the monthly gross without adding a single bird. Same feed bill, same cage, same hours, double the income. First income lands about 6 weeks from setup. Startup runs $150 to $300. And the biggest mistake people make is selling nothing but eating eggs at commodity prices. Hatching eggs pull 4 times the revenue per dozen from production you already have. Next up, an animal the federal government does not call livestock at all. It puts it in the same legal category as the dog asleep on your neighbor's sofa. Number 4. Meat rabbits. Under federal law, rabbits are classified as companion animals, not livestock, not poultry. The same legal category as cats and dogs. And that one classification does something enormous. In most states, home processing for direct sale is legal without USDA inspection because a rabbit is not legally an agricultural commodity the way a pig or a chicken is. That single distinction removes the wall that shuts down nearly every backyard meat operation before the first sale. A 12-doe rabbitry in eastern Tennessee runs 1 buck and 12 does out of a converted shed. Monthly gross, $600 to $800. Monthly feed cost, $40. And first income arrives 31 days from the day the operation starts. No other animal in this video pays out faster. 31 days from setup to money in hand. The revenue comes from 3 channels. Processed meat sells at around $10 a pound. Pedigree breeding stock sells at $60 to $150 an animal to other people who want to start without raising from newborns. And rabbit manure sells at $10 to $25 a bag to organic gardeners who go looking for it specifically. Here is why. Rabbit manure is one of the only fertilizers you can put straight onto a garden bed without composting it first. Most manures will burn a plant unless they cure for weeks. Rabbit manure will not. The gardeners who know that will find you. Startup runs $300 to $500 for cages, feeders, and breeding stock. And the biggest mistake is breeding before you have buyers. Rabbits multiply fast. Lock in 1 restaurant, 1 farmer's market slot, or 1 standing buyer before the first litter ever hits the ground. Before we get to number 3, do me one quick favor. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell. This channel publishes verified income systems with named operators and real monthly figures every single week. It takes 2 seconds and it costs you nothing. Now, an animal the USDA flatly refuses to call livestock, and a single hive that pays out through 6 separate income streams, when most keepers only ever use one of them. Number 3. Honeybees. The USDA does not classify honeybees as livestock, and most municipalities in this country let you place hives in a residential zone with no permit and no variance. An operator in Ohio runs 8 hives and averages around $8,000 a year, which works out to roughly $660 every month, spread across the whole year. And a single hive can pay you 6 different ways: honey at $10 to $15 a pound, beeswax candles at around $22 each, eucalyptus colonies at $225 a piece sold to other beekeepers just starting out, then queens, propolis, and bee pollen on top of that. The nucleus colony sales are where the real leverage hides. 1 nucleus colony sold equals the revenue of roughly 20 pounds of honey. Most beginners sell honey and nothing else, and they work 20 times harder than they need to. Startup runs $500 to $800 for 2 hives and basic kit. 2 hives is the correct starting scale, not 1 and not 10. 2 lets you compare colony health side by side, catch problems early, and get through 1 full season before you decide to expand. But there is one number you need to hear before you start. The 2024 to 2025 season recorded the highest annual colony losses ever documented in this country. 55.6% of all colonies, according to the Apiary Inspectors of America. That is not a scare number, that is a planning number. Budget to replace about half your colonies every year. The keepers who build that into the maths stay profitable year after year. The ones who treat startup as a one-time cost get blindsided in year 2. And the biggest mistake is scaling to 10 hives before you have finished a single season. Learn the full cycle first, expand after. So that is 3 animals in, and not one of them is something the law calls livestock. Quail in Wisconsin, $750 to $1,100 a month. Rabbits in Tennessee, $600 to $800. Bees in Ohio, $660 a month averaged across the year. 3 legal classifications, 3 income streams. Combined, $2,000 to $2,600 a month. And we have not yet touched the 2 animals that nobody can classify at all. Next, the ones that are not livestock, not poultry, not even pets, and that are legal in apartments with the strictest pet policies in the country. Number 2. Feeder insects. Mealworms and dubia roaches.
This is the category that breaks the rules, because there are no rules to break. Mealworms occupy a regulatory space almost no income-generating animal ever reaches, completely unclassified by any government body. Not livestock, not poultry, not a pet. Nothing at all. Which means they are legal in every apartment in the country, including buildings with pet policies that would never let you keep a cat. A cellar in Knoxville, Tennessee runs 22 stacked bins in a spare bedroom. Monthly gross, $1,100. Material cost, $60. Daily time, 20 minutes. And the buyer pool is wide. Live worms sell at $5 to $12 per hundred to reptile keepers and fishing bait buyers. Dried worms sell at $15 to $25 a pound to bird feeder enthusiasts and backyard chicken keepers using them as a protein supplement. And the frass, the spent bedding, sells at $2 to $4 a pound to gardeners. 3 separate buyer categories from one room. Startup is $40 to $80 for cultures, bins, and bedding. First sellable product at 60 days, and after that, the colony replicates itself. The Knoxville seller has not bought new starter culture in 3 years. Stack dubia roaches alongside them, and the legal picture gets even cleaner. Dubia cannot survive outdoors in most of the United States. They need sustained temperatures above 70 degrees Fahrenheit to breed. That biological fact gives them a clean regulatory status almost everywhere. No invasive pest classification. No livestock classification. No permits. A seller in Atlanta runs 3 plastic totes on a laundry room shelf and grosses $600 to $900 a month, feeding the whole colony on dry dog food, oats, and kitchen scraps for about $20. The buyer is the reptile hobby, and it is far bigger than most people realize. One warning: dubia are illegal in Florida and a handful of other warm climate states where they could establish outdoors. Confirm your own state before you start. And the biggest mistake with both is buying young nymphs to save a few dollars. Nymphs take 6 to 12 months to reach breeding age. Buy adults, and you have income in month 1. Quick pause before number 1. If any of these numbers are different from what you have been told everywhere else, tap the like button. It takes 1 second, and it puts this video in front of the next person looking for a way out of the permit trap. Now, the big one. Number 1. Isopods. A seller in Austin, Texas runs 30 cultures from a space that fits entirely inside a single closet. Monthly gross, $1,400 to $2,000. Monthly operating cost, under $40. Feed cost, $0. Isopods eat decaying leaf litter, collected free from any garden, any park, any pile of fallen leaves. That is the feed bill. Nothing. And the legal status is the cleanest on the entire list. Isopods are classified as beneficial crustaceans. They have 0 regulatory category as livestock or as a pest anywhere in the country. No permits to keep them. No permits to sell domestically raised cultures. The income runs across 3 tiers based on rarity and documented genetics. Standard varieties sell at $10 to $20 a starter culture. Mid-tier morphs like blue velvet and orange sell at $30 to $60. And premium varieties, the ones serious terrarium hobbyists build waiting lists for, sell at $80 to $200 a culture. The Austin seller earns top-tier prices because he documents the genetic lineage of every culture he sells. That one habit is the difference between a hobbyist posting on Etsy and an operator running a waiting list of buyers who follow his work specifically. The market is the terrarium hobby, and it is structural. Every bioactive reptile enclosure needs isopods as a living cleanup crew, and bioactive builds have moved from niche to mainstream. Every new keeper who goes that route needs isopods permanently, not as a one-time purchase. Startup runs $100 to $350 for 10 to 15 cultures, containers, and substrate. And the biggest mistake is overwatering. Isopods need a moisture gradient. One wet end, one dry end. Soak the whole thing, and you get a mold bloom that wipes out an entire culture in 48 hours. This is also the only animal on the list where getting better at the hobby directly raises what each unit sells for. That is rare in any income system, and it is worth a great deal to anyone who takes it seriously. Now here is where it stops being 5 separate ideas and becomes one machine. The quail produce manure. That manure feeds an insect colony at 0 cost. The spent substrate from the dubia roaches becomes ideal bedding for the isopods, which means the $40 operating cost in Austin can drop towards 0 once a roach setup is running alongside it. The mealworm frass becomes a protein supplement and a fertilizer. Nothing leaves the system. Everything cycles back in. Combined, these 5 animals at mid-range scale gross several $1,000s a month, and once the waste loop closes, the running cost across all of them sits under a couple of $100s. No barn, no acreage, no livestock designation, no permits. But the compounding only works when each layer is profitable before you add the next. One gear at a time builds a machine. Everything at once builds a crisis. So start with isopods. Start up under $350. First income at 60 days. Operating cost under $40 a month. And the inventory actually grows in value as your knowledge of the genetics grows. No other animal here does that. Once the isopods are producing steadily, add dubia roaches. Your spent isopod substrate becomes their bedding at 0 cost, and a standing order from a local pet store gives you predictable monthly income. Then add mealworms, feeding straight into the buyer relationships you have already built. After that, quail. When you are ready for an outdoor bird the law cannot touch. Then bees. When you want a true outdoor system. Each layer makes the one before it cheaper to run. So tell me in the comments, what space are you actually working with? A shelf? A closet? A spare room? A back garden? Every situation has a different first move, and I read every single comment. If this opened your eyes to a legal gap you did not know existed, subscribe and turn on the bell, because the next video walks through the exact 60-day launch sequence for your first animal, step by step, from an empty closet to your first sale. That one is building right now.